A peasant girl, who was later known as the heroine of France, possessed many traits typical of the female visionaries of her time, including remarkable mental and physical courage and robust common sense. Joan of Arc was a French woman who inspired her army to victory in the 15th century. Joan was born in the village of DOMREMY around 1412. Joan began hearing voices around the age of 13. We don't know what caused her to hear voices. Doctors today could possibly treat her, but medicine was primitive in the Middle Ages. France and England were at war when Joan was born. The war broke out in 1328 when Charles the Fair died and Philip VI became king. France surrendered much of its territory by signing the Treaty of Bretigny in 1360. The peace, however, was only temporary. 1369 brought a new war. By 1375, France had driven the English to a few ports. Once again, the coin flipped. In 1415, the English re-invaded France. They won Agincourt in 1415, and Burgundians joined English forces. They accepted Henry V as the French heir. The French Dauphin fled south, leaving northern France to the English and Burgundians. In 1422, he claimed the French throne but ruled only the south. France, on the other hand, was far from defeated. The French, English, and Burgundians halted their war in 1428. The Voices told Joan to siege Orleans. They advised her to travel to Vaucouleurs. Robert de Baudricourt was recommended. De Baudricourt was skeptical and sent her home. In January 1429, Joan visited de Baudricourt. This time, two powerful men backed her. It's surprising, right? We would be skeptical today if someone claimed to hear voices. But superstition ruled the Middle Ages. Holy women had revelations often at the time. Joan's male supporters persuaded de Baudricourt to see her again. Eventually, she convinced him. He escorted Joan of Arc to Chinon to see the king. Joan wore only men's clothes afterward. Joan of Arc persuaded the king of her authenticity. Did she? If Joan could convince the soldiers that God was on their side and sent her to lead them, it might boost morale. The king gave Joan an army, armor, and weapons. He sent her to Orleans in 1429. Joan and her men fought alongside Dunois against the English. The French drove back the English and relieved Orleans after several days of fighting, despite Joan's crossbow wound. Orleans boosted French morale. They believed God was with them. The prophecy was self-fulfilling because they kept winning. Joan of Arc and the Duc d'Alençon were sent to command French forces besieging Jargeau. In 1429, the French captured Jargeau. The French captured Meung and Beaugency. The French triumphed. Troyes, Chalons, and Reims fell. When Joan of Arc attacked Paris in 1429, things went wrong. Joan was hit by a crossbow bolt. The French failed and fled Paris. Joan's reputation suffered, and the French lost faith in her. After a military blunder in March 1430, Joan of Arc was captured. They besieged Compiègne. Joan invaded in 1430. She attacked the Burgundian camp that evening. The Burgundians counterattacked, forcing the French into Compiègne. She was captured. Let's talk about how this heroine died. The Duke of Luxembourg imprisoned Joan. He offered Joan to the English for the same price because the French wouldn't pay. They paid. Joan of Arc was then put on trial for heresy. Of course, it was purely a political show trial. Joan claimed that God had sent her to save France from the English. Her captors were also horrified by her habit of dressing in male clothing. Joan of Arc was found guilty of heresy. The unfortunate woman was sentenced to death. Joan of Arc was burned to death on May 30th, 1431 in Rouen. But Joan became legendary after her execution. The King of France tried to rehabilitate her when she became a legend. He didn't want Joan to be remembered as a heretic because she helped him rise to power. A 1456 investigation overturned Joan of Arc's heresy conviction. Joan of Arc's legend endures. Joan always worked for the welfare of society. She always said, "Hold the cross high so I may see it through the flames." So that's what today was about. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one.